Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Southwest Premier League Live. I'm Steven Ramirez, and with me, I have Francis Langbein and Rose Shoen of Metro FC. How you guys doing today?
Doing well. Thank you.
Doing good.
Awesome. We have a great show planned today. Metro FC, they're doing really big things. They're a new club for Southwest Premier League. But one of the things we're really going to focus on is Lamar Hunt US Open Cup. Now, they're one match away from making the Open Cup proper. They're doing great things. Rose is coaching for the Open Cup. And if you guys haven't heard of Rose before with some of their other feats, I mean, she's definitely done great things on the women's side with the development of her academies and the like creation of futsal. We've done things in the past, Rose, about that. Really just developing, the culture and talent out there in Northern California. So I just want to get rolling here, right, with the questions right into, U.S. Open Cup. Rose, what does the Open Cup mean to you, and what's its impact for the local side like Metro FC?
I mean, for me personally, as a coach, I've always wanted to coach in the tournament. It's just that the demographic of men that I usually coach in UPSL or even SWPL, I typically get a lot of younger guys who are college athletes. So I never really had the group that I needed to play this type of tournament, because the reality is it's about a year if you really qualify. You have to start in August and you go all the way through qualifiers to December, and then you win and you have to go to the spring. So it is a lengthy commitment, and you have to have a certain type of group of men. And so that was a very unique opportunity that we had the opportunity to partner together. There was a base of players. We were able to invite other really great players from the Bay Area to participate in our player pool. And then, we've just been able to develop the group. For me personally, as a coach, it's a great opportunity to build my resume to be in this type of tournament. I've coached against, D1 programs, D2, D3, NAIA, JUCO, UPSL, NPSL. But it's just such a cool opportunity as a coach to potentially coach against a professional franchise. So I think any amateur coach, that's kind of the goal, right? If you want to move up, can I become good enough to get this opportunity? So for me, it's a great opportunity. I'm in the pursuit of applying for my B license. So I'm using this definitely as a stepping stone. And, I would like to continue as we move into our spring season. So I think there's a lot of really cool opportunities with Open Cup, and, just such an exciting thing, right? It's just the ultimate underdog story. It's the ultimate David and Goliath. I think it's just fun to follow it every year, whether you're coaching and playing in it or not. It's just a great story. I mean, every year you get these really cool underdogs, and it's just, it's tons of upsets too. Just like this year, it's been really fun to watch what teams are going to make it to this round. And same with the college level. You've just seen a lot of upsets. So that's just the fun part of the American soccer system, when we finally get to see underdogs break through, because most of the time we really don't get to see that. It's kind of like MLS Monopoly, pay to play, right? But it's like our shot in the fall. We're like, hey, average people, we can make this happen. We can band together and we can qualify. So I think it's a really great story, and it's a lot of fun.
I mean, you're definitely on it, because like when I think of like Christos, when I think of last like Florida Soccer Soldiers, I mean, it's not just your fans that are behind you in those runs. It's like all of lower league amateur soccer that are just rooting for you. And, Francis, we've talked in the past. There's been some articles on Protagonist Soccer about Metro FC. I definitely suggest that you guys go and check those out. Really talks about the ambition of the club. And Francis, you kind of talked about the Open Cup then. I mean, what does that mean for you now that you're one match away? And that's, one of the goals you had.
Yeah, for me, this is a redemption for a goal that we had last summer to win back-to-back SFSFL seasons, which did not come to fruition. And here we are on the verge of something bigger than that. So I'm pretty excited about it. I still have that hunger in me to have unfinished business within the league play, within SFSFL, within NISA upcoming, and the goal of consistently growing the club from level to level to level. And I think the opportunity to play US Open Cup and win at the highest level helps that exponentially the farther that we can go.
Now, so you've had 2 matches in qualifying so far. You guys have 5 goals. You got 2 against. What have been some of the keys to your success? And Francis, I'll start with you. When you look, kind of like from the outside perspective, and I know you're probably at practice all the time with them, but what have been some of those keys to success that you've seen?
I think it's a lot of the same things that we've done as a club combined with a little bit more discipline and structure that's been brought on by Rose. Until to date, we've consistently won as a group with this core group. I'd say the majority of our 25 players, I'd say either 18 to 23, I don't know the exact number, are returning Metro players who play together well, love to play, love to commit, love this idea of competing and a greater purpose as a group and band together well. And we've been coaching ourselves. I've been at the helm, but I've been helping or been helped by 5 to 7 leaders on the group as we've gone forward. Never had a core head coach structured in place. And here we are with Rose adding a few very strong players, in some key positions when we needed to. And that's what we've done as a group since the beginning, is figure out where we have holes and we fill them very effectively, whether it was at the head coach level, whether it was at the 9, whether it was at the 5. Those are my observations.
And Rose, do you think you can kind of expand on that? I know you talked a little bit about having this, different type of player pool that's not really all collegiate. How has that really helped your preparation for, those previous 2 games and what you're going for Contra Costa?
I think that it's a very unique season in the fall. So with a lot of the teams, at least in Northern California, amateur men at the NPSL, UPSL, what used to be like the PDL, the USL too, predominantly they will have collegiate athletes, like current registered athletes. So as a coach, you're like, okay, we've got these baller D1, D2 guys. They're usually the starters. So it's very unique when you have a team where it's like, these are men who are not collegiate athletes. A lot of our best players are older. They're over 25. And, for them to stay healthy, they work full-time jobs, they have families. For them to commit to this is a lot. And, it's asking a lot of them even to come to practice the limited amount of time or to do the fitness. So for me, it's very impressive to have these older athletes really competing, and winning. And I think it's just a mental toughness. I've definitely seen a shift just in the player pool of the guys. Like, it's funny when they wrote the first article, I think there was like only one player that they could really like Google search and find, because Matt Fondy has a big resume, right? But, when Christian Garcia scored the game-winning goal, there's not like, oh, he's not like some super accoladed player, but that's the beauty of Open Cup. And that's the type of players you can get for this. Really talented guys that just don't have these huge resumes, but they compete and they compete against the big dogs. I mean, for me, when I really realized the beauty of Open Cup and the ability of amateur teams like at our level was when I watched La Machina play Sac Republic a couple years ago, and they were a UPSL side, and I was amazed that they had made it to that point. When I saw that, I was like, this is really possible. Like, these are just some guys who get together. They have, they believe in themselves. They work really hard, and they're doing it. They're playing against a pro team in pro stadium. Like, that was the day I was like, this is possible. You think it's possible, but then when you really see it in real life and you sit in one of those games, you're like, wow, these guys don't get paid to be here, and they're killing it. They're crushing it. It's just like, there are so many men like that in America who played, but due to whatever reason, they didn't get to move on to the professional level, or, they didn't get to play D1s. So they kind of are under the radar, but they're very good players and they compete. We see it all the time in the SFSFL Premier. Francis and I have coached against each other. We've been in the SFSFL for a long time. There's a ton of talent. And so this is really their opportunity to shine and to demonstrate that, at the lower level, we can be organized, we can compete. It is a good level of soccer. And so I just, it's been really fun to build the roster, structure all the friendlies. And, we've actually, the interesting thing is all our games have been away. So it's been kind of an interesting twist, to get 3 back-to-back away games. Every time you win, you're like, okay, what are we going to do next? Where are we going? And you have to, it's an interesting season because you really only get 3 real games. Usually with the men's team, you get, weekly games. So you kind of build chemistry and you learn how each other play, and you kind of learn styles of play and like how do people handle different situations. Friendlies and, scrimmages are not the same as a real game. So, you really only get 2 games. Now we're on the 3rd game. It's like, and there's a limitation on subbing. There's no reentry. So for a lot of the players, they had not been in a league like that. So just having the trust, right, in the system of play and the philosophy of like, what's your role on the team, right? Because, you bring someone in where you could do in and out subbing, and get people in and out and take people out for injuries, and teaching them, we can't do that at this level. We have to play basically 3 perfect games, and then we play a pro game. And just like getting the men to trust that type of philosophy, and even if they don't play, to not be too angry and to feel like a team player. There's a lot of psychology that goes behind it. And we've been able to have a really great group of men. There's no big like ego clashes, and people want to work hard. So here we are in December, we started this in August and now we have our next game. So it's been really fun, but there's a lot of other elements that aren't necessarily present in a normal season that you have to kind of work around, negotiate as you move forward in Open Cup. So
yeah, now I would say this is a second episode that it's come up to where it's like commitment and the commitment to teamwork. Can you kind of like, how important is that at this level of the game?
Oh, it's the most important thing. Like the reason that, in my opinion, that we've made it this far is because the men understand their roles. They're flexible if we have to change something. If there's an injury, people are willing to play more than one position, willing to go to the away games, willing to sacrifice for this, willing to be there at the training sessions till 10 p.m. Like it is a sacrifice, and these are amateur players. So, like you're not paying someone a paycheck. They have to want to be there. They have to want to listen. They have to want to put in the extra work to get their fitness up. Like at our first fitness test at the tryouts, no one passed. Now everyone passes, right? Like on a physical endurance, they put in the work. It's just a steady progression every week. Everyone's been putting in the work and you can see the difference. And those who weren't as committed, they just naturally kind of fall off. And the guys who want to be there are there and they're all in, 100% focused. And I really think that commitment and trusting your teammates and being a team player is the most important part of amateur men's soccer to succeed.
Well put. And, you got Contra Costa FC out of the MPSL coming up next. Francis, what have been some of those preparations that you've been getting ready for that's coming up this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. Just mentally, I've always been somebody who hasn't really paid attention to the opponent. Obviously, always give your opponent respect, but that's kind of part of it, is whether it's Contra Costa or whoever it is, you need to make sure that you're ready for on your side in the preparation. I think we have been strict and created some great opportunities for people to become better soccer players, whether it's improving their fitness, whether it's through workouts that we've sent outside of like weekly sessions that we have. Some of the other just basic getting people ready to go and mentally prepared is sending out like communication of where your mindset should be, communicating that within the group on a regular basis. And then from just an event perspective, I will commend Contra Costa FC leadership for just the communication that I have had with them as far as hosting an event and being open to our suggestions, talking through some things that we have exciting planned for the event that are a surprise. And I also am looking forward to playing at Salesian High School, phenomenal venue that they chose, very good turf. It's fortunately falling on a sunny day here in the Bay Area. Hopefully, knock on wood, that persists. Yeah, I mean, we've, as far as preparations gone, done everything we need to do in order to be successful and maintaining our focus on the end goal. And this is it. We're ready for the big show. There's even more preparation in this last week that we haven't even done, that you just need to go to sleep. You need to eat right. You need to get your fitness in. You need to do your rolling out, your stretching. All 18, 25 players who could potentially play need to continue doing that on a regular basis and having our focus towards that. And just to kind of double down on something that Rose said, which I am aligned to and have always been aligned to, as to why we do this thing that Metro does as far as like a 5-year club, is it has always been my belief that as a group in a soccer specifically with a 11v11 event, it's a team game 100% of the way. It's not the type of game where you can bring in a LeBron James and your team is just going to win or something like that. You have to have 11, you have to have 15, you have to have 25 guys who are committed to this movement. And if there is a LeBron James on the other team on the soccer field, they're not necessarily going to win if they're against a good unit that's like ready to go and committed and grinding it out. I mean, I don't know if you caught our last game live, but that was a grind, and it took 11 men, 90 minutes per person to really make that work. It was a battle. We won 1-0. And frankly, I had no doubt in my mind that we were going to win it because we were focused and we knew and we were prepared and we were ready to go. So that's the kind of mentality that I would like to take coming into this next game, is being prepared to go all the way.
And Rose, would you like to expand on that?
Yeah, I've coached teams, over the past, I've been head coaching for 11 years, but where, you will get a really, really gifted athlete, really gifted player. But at the end of the day, I've beaten teams with those types of players because I was like, we're a team, guys, like be a team. And when you are a team and when you're united and you trust each other, you can beat teams with superstars. And it happens all the time. I mean, there's one kid on the opposing team, and I noticed they were young, and I was like, hey, you played a great game. Like, I really hope you pursue it at the collegiate level. Like, you honestly have what it takes. And when I see younger talent, I will admit it. Like, when I see a gifted kid, I'm like, I really hope you make it. Like, and I talked to the coach because I knew them because I'm originally from Reno, and I was like, that kid's really good, dude. I hope that they're pursuing the next level. Like, they would do great in college, and that kid doesn't want to go to school. And so, like you see that. And then we've got a guy on our team who just graduated from Boston D1, and he's at Berkeley Law. And this is a guy that when you see him play on the field, you're like, that guy could play at the second or third division professional level, and he's pursuing his law degree. And so like at this level, you see like really, really gifted players, but it's the humility and the hard work, right? Like in my opinion, he's the type of player that could go into a team and have kind of an attitude if he felt like it, right? Because he is that elite, right? The resume is there, but he is the most humble, hardworking guy you're going to meet. And he just puts in the work. And it shows on the field. And, when those two players, the one on their team was kind of, you could tell he's kind of hot shot. And our player that just has an incredible resume. I mean, when you look at it, you're like, this guy should be at a pro combine. And you just look at the attitude, right? Like how they act with their teammates, how they interact with the referees, how they interact with their own coaching staff. The verbal cues they give, the way that they say things or their body language. And that's, in my opinion, what really defines the good amateur men's teams and the really elite ones is those strong men in the team that could kind of have an attitude, but they choose to be leaders, right? Because it can't just come from me or Francis on the sideline. Those men in the team have to be leaders in the field. We can't be in the field doing the decisions for them. They have to make those decisions in the moment to be a good leader, to lead from within, especially when it's a 0-0 game, a must-win game. Like we know if it's tied, we're going to, overtime and then PKs. And when you have men in the field that have that humility and they work that hard and they've been doing it the whole time, the rest of the men basically follow them. And that's half the battle, in my opinion. You want to have men in that player pool in the field that are going to be those servant leaders who really grind it out and lead, and when you have that, you can make it to the next round of Open Cup, in my opinion. And that's one of the factors I really looked at. A lot of the guys that we were able to sign is, we had a couple guys that fell off, but the core group, they really want to lead from within the field. And that's the big difference at a high level. And that's what gets you to the next round. So we've had a really great group, and they just keep pushing and they keep progressing and they're positive about it. Even when we're 0-0, we weren't cussing each other out at halftime. It was like, all right, let's try to have a slight adjustment. And it was 0-0 at half. And then we were able to score the goal and then hold them, which is a whole thing. Cause you're like, all right, we can't make the sub too early. We have to be aware of injuries, they might tie it up, and they were really trying to tie it up. So these are all factors you're looking at. You're like, all right, can that player handle it? Should we make the sub? Should we leave him in? How are they feeling? And just that open communication where like, if a player's hurt, they don't lie about it anymore. And that's a big deal with men's soccer. Cause a lot of times guys will get hurt playing in other leagues. They don't want to tell the ownership. They don't want to tell the head coach. They lie about it. Then you're in a game where you only get 3 subs and there's no reentry. So like I was like, if you're honestly hurt, it's better to tell us now. We have to make decisions. So to have the ability where a player will actually tell you the truth and actually kind of keep in contact about the injuries, that can save you in a game. And so I think that trust that we've kind of had within the group where they feel open enough to talk about it makes a really big difference. And that we're like, hey, if you're honestly hurt, take that week off so that you can play in the next game. Don't feel bad if you really can't come. Please recover. And having them listen so that they can be healthy enough to play. And, so in men's athletics, I see it a lot where guys are like, I'm hurt, but I'm going to push through it, play on 3 teams, play 3 games a weekend. And then they actually rip something and they're done. And in Open Cup, you can't add players and there's no reentry and only get 3 subs. So the injuries are actually what really hurt a lot of teams like Farolito. You think Farolito's going to make it. They've qualified before. They didn't have their keeper and they didn't have their backup and they had to put a defender in the goal. That changes your whole game. And that stuff really happens. I don't know the intricacies of their roster, but when you read that stuff, you're like, that's a real thing that happens in men's soccer. And so there's so many variables that happen in this type of tournament. It's very different than like a regular league play, like Southwest Premier or UPSL or SWPL. So,
yeah, I mean, you really need those like intangible things like the commitment, like the teamwork, and it really sounds like you guys have both created this culture at Metro FC where, if you guys are going to do it, you guys are going to do it together. And that's really one of the things that, we want to just translate through all throughout lower league soccer. So Francis, if let's say you guys, I don't want to put any jinxer, but let's say you guys win the next round.
No jinxes, please.
What's the next step for the club? What's the goal in the Open Cup proper, and what's the next steps for Metro FC?
Goals to win the Open Cup, Steven. Go as far as we can, be prepared every single game as we go forward. And I have always thought about how we progress, and we started out at 7th on the U.S. soccer pyramid, which is informal in my opinion, of the first division of SFSFL, because SFSFL is loosely considered the 5th division on U.S. soccer pyramid. I won that up to the 6th, then made it up to Majors Division, won that into Premier, and then we're in the 5th. Now we've been fortunate enough to move into the SWPL, or NISA Nation. We are figuring out what that's going to look like. That would be considered, just because of regional availability. And, quick plug, I encourage any team that's thinking about doing that in Northern California to absolutely do it. It is a phenomenal organization and thing to do. And we'd love to play you. So that would put us in 4th, and then with an opportunity to be promoted or be ready to move into NISA Pro, which is a big mouthful for me to say and a big goal. I think there's a number of factors that go into that, but 2 key things that could lead to that result are success in Open Cup as far as we can go, and success in NISA Nation, and success against SWPL, and really proving that, wow, every team that they face on the West Coast, California, Nevada, they are doing well, and they're an organization that is focused on that. And I think another thing that I like about NISA the most is, from day one that I heard about NISA, our goals and interest in soccer and the pyramid have been aligned 100%. When I started Metro, was thinking about doing the promotion up for my team, and then I was also, why don't we do this with a league? Why don't we bring in a league for Metro? Kylo making a little appearance here. And the way that NISA is setting it up, and the way that things are progressing within the league structure in the United States and with USSF, I think there is an opportunity for a pyramid to formulate, and however we can be part of that, and helping other teams to support that goal, and wherever Metro, the football club, lands on that pyramid, I want to continue that as the goal as well, and slowly make our way up one level at a time. And I think 1 year at a time is a pretty reasonable goal, if not a little too ambitious, but I think we'll see how this goes for the next year with NISA Nation. And I got a good feeling. And the thing is, once you set that as your goal, and once you continue to have success, and as you win your way to the top, you earn people's involvement in your club, like people like Rose, people like Division I soccer players who just come join us, former pros who come join us. And it just, you build it around a core of guys, and build the culture. And from there, you can grow your team. And we'll just hope to continue doing that as we go forward, one step at a time.
Cool. Yeah. Now, Rose, he said all the way to win it. So, what would be, the plan to, take those steps each and every game?
Well, when Francis talked to me about this back in August, basically when I heard him, he was like, I need you to build a team to compete against the Oakland Roots. I mean, that's the truth, right? And so it was like, I'm looking at it like, I got 3 weeks to try and get enough players that we could realistically beat all the amateur men's teams, and then have a team to compete and hopefully beat a USL team. That was the task. And I was like, okay, challenge accepted. I got 3 weeks to go call these guys up and see if we can get enough guys at the tryout. It's a little bit of a tight timeline, but par for the course of men's soccer, right? I mean, like I said, I can't call up the college guys. A lot of guys are already, the really, really good ones already signed to like a pro club by that point, right? So you get this kind of in-between group of guys that might be former pros, former D1s, guys who graduated, former great D2 players or stuff like that, or guys who never even played at the collegiate level, and they're just ballers, and they're like, we want a chance to prove our worth. You're like, all right. And so you just got to look at the roster. Like, we got to build out a group that wants to be humble, hardworking, play as a team, and make it all the way to the spring. That's the goal. And then hopefully progress from there. I know it's possible. I know it's possible to beat USL teams. I've seen amateur teams do it. But it takes a unique group of leadership, ownership, and player personnel And like I said, there's random variables, like teams you'd expect to stay in, they get knocked out early, right? You're just like, okay, well, that was random and we're still in it. Great. Okay, here we go. I think competing against the professional franchises, the variable is that they are men who are getting paid, right? So they have the opportunity to get really top notch, like physical therapy. They get to do weights, they get to do their cardio. But you'd be surprised how many of these men that are at the true amateur level actually can compete and compete well against teams like that, and you can't control every variable, but you can definitely organize the group tactically and technically to make it a good chance. And so that was my objective, right? Like, how do we build the core group, keep them healthy enough, keep them motivated enough? Because there's burnout, right? Like, I mean,
Yeah.
a lot of players have been going all the way since January. If you've done preseason, January, February, and you've been playing season March through August, and then we ready to sign you up again. Now we're doing Open Cup. A lot of these guys have not taken time off. And so that's really why injury mitigation and just kind of like morale of the players has been really important to me. Checking in with the guys and just making sure that they're feeling good, because there is burnout. It does happen, especially in amateur sports. I mean, this is a really exhausting haul for the whole year. I did a season like this back in 2018 where we did preseason against a bunch of college programs, SWPL Premier, or we were in the majors. We were in the majors and we were trying to get promoted into the Premier, which we did. And then we had to go straight to UPSL, and we didn't get done until 3 weeks into December. So that was a really exhausting year. So I've done it before. And so I understand that, like, the psychology, the physicality of it, it's a lot. I think that we are capable of competing against professional franchises. I think we have a really great core group of men. And then an interesting thing is that if you win all the amateur pre-qualifiers, you can actually adjust your roster going into the professional game. So a lot of times guys who maybe signed with another team that didn't qualify, or guys that got cut from pro franchises and they want to play, there is an ability to sign them for this upcoming, if you qualify for the spring proper for Open Cup, which is, I think it's a good rule, because there are a lot of players that might have been on another team that might want an opportunity to try out and play for us. They might want that chance, and maybe they want to play for the Southwest Premier League in the spring as well. So I think that's cool, and I think that's another element that we're definitely thinking about. Like, who would we want to add if we advance? And just also looking at players who've been contacting us that would like to try out for the spring season. They want a shot at playing in this league. So, these are all variables that would go into, like, what would a spring game look like? The personnel might shift. So definitely.
Well, I want to congratulate you guys on the success you've had so far. And I definitely, I know you guys are going to continue to do, great things up in Northern California. Before we get out of here, I do want to make sure that you guys, anyone watching, make sure they're following Metro FC. You can't really see it, but I got my cool Metro FC kit on with my Zenny sponsorship and my Zenny glasses. I actually ordered Zenny glasses. I said I had to because they support lower league soccer, so I had to actually go that route. But it's a great kit. Just make sure you guys are supporting local soccer. And Rose, Francis, do you guys have anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah, everything. Francis, I talk too much, but
sure, Rose, go for it. I'll close.
No, I just think it's great that you guys are promoting lower level soccer. There's a ton of talent in the United States, and it's great to have exposure. And there's a lot of good players. We're starting to see it more and more of, like, these opportunities, these pathways that aren't, if you didn't play at an MLS DA and then go D1, you can't go to the draft. There's a lot of men, a lot of great players that are on the fringes that are getting these opportunities through Open Cup play, through leagues like NISA that want to have a real system to actually move up into it. So promoting that type of stuff is just such a cool opportunity for great players. A lot of really great international guys coming through this that maybe weren't in the American system that we're going to start to see, I think, flow through. And the more that there's opportunities where people can just earn their spot, perform. And we're going to see a lot of really good talented players coming through the ranks, in my opinion.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually going to say that this is such a unique opportunity for people who are not necessarily trying to be a professional, or it's very challenging to be a lower level soccer player professional. Lower level is such a demeaning way to phrase it, but there is an opportunity here for people to continue to do something that they love while also making a living. And something that we have tried to do as a group is we've had well over a dozen, if not 24 over the last 5 years, people who have been referred for jobs through Metro and created other opportunities, great friendships, great things that we've done to raise money and raise awareness for different nonprofits. We just did something with Oakland Genesis, got them some funds as well. It's a nonprofit in Oakland that just recently or supports lower level or youth soccer for kids who maybe not get the opportunity to do that. There are just so many opportunities that you get with a soccer team that you can like build community around. And we would love to continue furthering that mission, whether it's in San Francisco, whether it's in the Bay Area. And shout out, by the way, like to the Oakland Roots, like for somewhat paving the way for what is possible, especially in the East Bay. There is plenty of room for multiple teams like that to do something, especially in San Francisco, which is our focus. And yeah, when I forgot that I said that to you, Rose, that let's put together a team that can beat the Oakland Roots. But
well, that's a pro team in our area, so technically, I was like, that would be the one.
That's exactly right. And
that was the goal. Is like, can we build
yeah.
a team to get to that game and then
Right.
compete against them? So
yeah, I mean, Rose knows this about me. I'm a very competitive guy, all about the on field. But at the same time, there's so much you can do off field, and just wanted to credit the Roots for like kind of building from both the community and also like thinking about how they can perform on the field. And we look to do the same thing as we go forward. So yeah, final thoughts, come to the game if you can, Richmond, Salesian High, and looking forward to it. It's going to be a great time. So yeah, thanks a lot, Stephen, for hosting us, and phenomenal to just kind of continue chatting here and growing the sport.
Awesome. Thank you guys. And like I said before, everyone, and like Francis said, get out and support your local side. And thank you guys and have a great night.
Thanks, guys. Bye.